Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, and I am back with a screaming Galadriel. With everything in Middle Earth, has agreed to join me again tonight. Get a collaboration to you guys for some more Tolkien content. We've missed it. We have. The Rings of Power has come and gone. Thankfully, it's been cast into the void for another 2 years at least before season 2 comes out. And in a weird way, and I was discussing this before we went live, it's almost like a sense of Stockholm syndrome. I have missed talking about Tolkien related stuff and laughing about the Rings of Power or just discussing it or chatting with you guys. And hopefully we get some people in the comments. That'd be great if we do. And even if we don't, my friend, I'm sure we're going to have a fun-filled discussion tonight about all things Rings of Power. So first off, handing over to you. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, although I've just had the thought that we've got another 10 years of the Rings of Power.
A
That
whole
sounds so
generation of
long.
people are going to be brought up. Well, hopefully they'll be brought up on the right stuff, the books and the Peter Jackson films. But if not, that's upsetting to me in so many
Can
ways.
you imagine being a fan like who hasn't read any of the Lord of the Rings books, and this is the show that gets you into Lord
This
of the
is it.
Rings?
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of jealous in a way because they'll watch this dross and then they'll go on to like read the books or watch the Peter Jackson films and be like, oh my god, this is actually good. Although there has been people, I don't know if you've noticed online, that have been slamming the original films to make this show seem better.
I've seen almost like, I think IGN actually were probably the biggest proponents of this because they're all caught up in the narrative. And we will talk about the narrative that the media is still continuing to spin about the negative reviews about this film and the people who have negative reviews on it. But there were a lot of videos that cropped up and it was like the things that Peter Jackson didn't do right or the stuff about the Lord of the Rings films. And I thought, isn't this convenient timing that this was in the lead up to, I think the Rings of Power was just about to come out. And it almost felt like a smear campaign against, the original trilogy of films. So, I mean, I haven't seen that since personally, but I don't know if you want to talk more about it, from what you've seen.
It's similar to what you said. Yeah, it's like they show certain scenes like there's been comedy in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and they use the reference of Gimli and Legolas having their drinking game
Yeah.
and use that as evidence to why the Rings of Power should have comedy in it, even though their comedy is dross, is Gandalf the Good rolling down the hill.
Good.
He
Yeah.
is. It's Gandalf the Good. Remember, he's
Uh,
good. If you didn't know,
mm,
even though the hobbits shunned him out, he's good. Oh, and I'll tell you what he is good at. He's good at English all of a sudden.
yeah, and I swear to God, when he first started talking, he had like a very broad Irish accent, almost like it was matching the Hobbits who he was with. And then all of a sudden, I swear to God, he's just dropped that accent the last couple of episodes.
That's so true because it's nature and nurture. Like yourself, your accents, you pick up people's accents around you, and that forms your accent. He's been surrounded by Irish hobbits. Yeah, he's like posh. He's posh English speaking at the end. And, previous episodes, about 2 episodes before, he's like saying, I'm bad. And now he's full on, no problems, putting sentences together, always following his nose.
Oh.
I mean,
Do you know what I've seen as well? And I'm not going to name certain Tolkien related channels because I don't want to be that guy. But for me, it's a certain channel whose reputation has been tarnished from the Rings of Power and the
does
shill
it begin with
quality.
an N?
Uh, Potentially. I'm not going to name names.
No, I
I've
won't name them.
unsubscribed, I've unfollowed, but somehow tweets still keep finding their way onto my Twitter page. By the way, if you haven't followed me already, that's a segue, isn't it? Go and follow me on Twitter right there. It's going across the bottom of the screen at Hobbit Fan Editor. And obviously, I am joined with Everything in Middle Earth tonight go and give him a follow too. That's EI Middle Earth. Yeah, all good
I
Tolkien content.
I couldn't fit the full name in, so I had to shorten it. So
You got Middle Earth in there though, so that's the main draw, isn't it? So yeah.
unlike the Rings of Power.
Oh shit. Anyway, going back to the Twitter page of the Tolkien channel that I am not at liberty to name. Following the finale episode, actually, no, I think this was like last week, maybe, saying just because the wizard character, the Istar, says, quotes Gandalf's line, doesn't make him Gandalf. And I'm convinced that he is not Gandalf and he's actually going to be one of the blue wizards. And then, like, the whole legion of shill fans in the comments, like, yes, I also wasn't swayed by the fact that he quoted Gandalf's line. Many of the characters throughout the show have quoted other characters' lines from Lord of the Rings, and this is not confirmation to me that he is Gandalf. I'm like, okay, so not only does he visually look like a depiction of Gandalf, he's an Istar, he quotes a Gandalf line, he hangs out with hobbits, and there's the whole like moth motif thing when he does the whole "you shall not pass" moment, which is a bizarre. I'm sure we'll talk about. Yeah, it like he's
to
fucking
fire
Gandalf
as well, like the ring that he possesses. And
I don't know if this channel is just doing it up to like get speculation going and to get people to tweet and like reply at his tweets or her tweets, his or her tweets. I can't confirm who it is, but I was just looking at this like, is this guy or girl fucking serious? Like, it's like, what more evidence do you need? I've just lost all respect for so many but it's kind of helped. It's kind of skim off the top a little bit. It's like, okay, I don't need to watch their content now because I know they're absolutely full of it. And now I can actually focus in. And fair play to Men of the West as well, who's just stayed true to all this
fair
thing,
play. I know I'm not going to name the channel that you're on about, but I loved their content.
Yeah.
Like their history videos, I used to make history videos and I thought, you know what, these put so much effort and detail in. And I enjoy watching these videos. I don't need to make them because
very well done.
These people are just brilliant. And then you look that they've got actor interview, and it's like
subscribers flooding in. Yeah,
10 out of 10 on episodes. And fair enough if you enjoy it. There's some stuff that I like that I know is rubbish, like the Hobbit films, right? They're not the greatest. I'm not going to be like, oh, they are 10 out of 10. They're not good, but I like them because of the nostalgia. These people, I don't know if they genuinely believe that it's good or not, or I know that it definitely benefits them, but you've got to be truthful about these things, and you can't be false and deny the truth and the facts.
Yeah, no, 100%. And as I say, it's made things easier now. It has meant like my list of Tolkien channels that I actually watch content from is significantly lower now, but I'd rather watch channels that actually have some credibility to them and will actually tell it like it is and not just give a false account of things just because they got a goodie bag when they went to London. How very nice.
You know what we should do? We should suck up to the show and get an interview with like one of the writers and just, ask them some true questions. That's what we need. None of this sucking up. Just ask them, why did you do Galadriel like this? Why was this your adaptation of Galadriel? Just ask them tough questions, Why did you pick Halbrand as the name instead of Anata? Like, you had a
well, if you've seen any of the showrunner, show writer, screenwriter interviews, they haven't got a fucking clue. All they care about is we need to modernize Tolkien. Tolkien isn't progressive enough now, so we've had to take it upon ourselves to write the novel. I always keep bringing it up, but that line they said, we wanted to write the novel that Tolkien never did. All that shit. They haven't got a fucking clue at all what makes the Lord of the Rings great and why it's, traditional storytelling. We're not trying to modernize it for a current day audience. It exists in its own vacuum as a legendarium, as an ancient history. as a mythology. It doesn't have to be. Not every. Oh God, I'm getting okay. I'm getting as angry. Let's full screen that. I'm sorry, guys, for people that I've just seen one person at the top. I'm full screening this. That is my reaction to the Rings of Power in a very succinct thumbnail right there.
Well,
pissed off Galadriel.
The show writers' excuses are that it isn't in the book. Tolkien didn't say that exactly.
I hate that.
So we can do it, you know, screw logic. He didn't say it. They genuinely believe their own hype. Like, because I make films, and if I make a film and people say it's shit, like if let's say 60% say it's crap, the writing's terrible, there's a problem. You don't go, well, 40% liked it, so that's good.
Yeah.
No. There's a reason why this has low audience reviews. The critics certainly love it, but that's another story.
Well, I'm sure Amazon have got their fingers in a lot of pies, and I don't think actually they've confirmed how many people have actually watched the show. I don't think the numbers have actually been released yet, the final figures.
No, they haven't.
Did you hear about the debacle as well with the finale episode in terms of people viewing that and what happened with that and how they think that Amazon have like been pulling some strings behind the scenes?
Really?
To falsify the numbers, yes. So there were a lot of reports. I don't know if it was worldwide or if it was just in the US, but a lot of people were mentioning all of them got to a certain point when they were watching it on Amazon Prime and it kind of the episode froze and it threw them out back onto the homepage.
Yes.
And they had to like load it back up and click the Rings of Power again. So for each one person watching it, it counted as 2 views. So if you times that by how many people did watch it, it's boosted it by double. Now that can probably be like a bit of tinfoil hat wearing. Maybe it genuinely was just a glitch, but it does make you wonder, like Amazon do have the power to do that shit. And it's very telling that it didn't happen on any previous episode, but the finale, because it's the big one, they want to boast and say, oh, we had so many people watch the finale. It does make you think, and it wouldn't surprise me if Amazon do some shit like that, because we've seen how fucking grimy they've been throughout the whole lead up and the marketing and everything and the falsifying a narrative which is still continuing, by the way, that you know everyone who hates this show are non-progressive, are racists, are misogynists, are ists and phobes and all these horrible, hateful things. And they're just spinning that narrative. And, you know, I've mentioned this on like loads of my live streams. It's not just Amazon that do that. That's happened to so many franchises. If you seemingly have any kind of negative criticism against anything, valid criticism, you're shot down as all these horrible things as a method to just silence you or to divide the fan base. We've seen it with Star Wars. It's happened with Star Trek apparently as well, and it will continue to happen. Marvel, things going on with that too. So,
well, it's an easy label, isn't it, to throw about, and that stuff sticks.
And I think because we've seen that happen so many times, it's like this isn't our first rodeo with this. So I think the treatment of this has been more evident with the Rings of Power than perhaps it was in some of those other franchises, because that seemed like a new strategy. Like, you know, when Star Wars was coming out and blanketing all these people, that felt kind of new at the time when that criticism was coming out. But now we've seen it happen to so many big franchises and, you know, main tentpole IPs and everything, that when they just, as I say, I think they just fucked with the wrong fan base on this one. And they weren't expecting it. And fair play to all the fans that have just, you know, held their ground with it.
Yeah, because you can't be false. There's no denying that it's not good. Like, I genuinely went into the first couple of episodes. I wouldn't say that I was excited. I was mainly curious.
Yeah.
Hoping that it was good. Because after viewing the casting choices and seeing that Lenny Henry was being picked for a Hobbit, I doubted that it would have been good, but I didn't do no trailer reactions, nothing. I thought, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to be shouting and screaming about it. After the first 3 episodes, I'm like, this is shit. Yeah. Like, I gave the first one a chance, hoping Galadriel calmed down. The second one, again, just bored. And it has been just boring. It's just been awful. And sorry, backtrack on your quote about the viewing numbers. I tried to research before we came on live, the viewership of each episode to see if it would have increased or declined. There's nothing online. There's no stats out. There's only one figure that I've seen is that I think the opening episode had over 100 million views. That's it. That's all
Probably
that
to
they
be
published.
expected, in all honesty. So that could be accurate, maybe.
But that's it. There's no other numbers. I will be very curious to see who any casual fans who would have stuck by this show after hours of being bored. Like it's just been boring and awfully written, and the characters have been awful and unrelatable. Yeah. Do you want to talk about episode 10? I keep on saying episode 10, episode 8.
It
Sorry.
feels like there should be 10, doesn't it? Thank God there wasn't. But I was just trying to look for an article actually saying that it was one of the showrunners saying that audience criticism will be taken on board moving forward with season 2, and they're going to make some changes. I think they're going to have to make some changes. I don't think this was the big hit that Amazon was expecting it to be. The most expensive TV show, the most expensive thing ever put to the small screen in history. The amount of money they spent on this, production value, everything, shooting on location, apparently in New Zealand, although it only seemed to me like there were a handful of scenes in New Zealand. A lot of it seemed like it was on a green screen or a soundstage or something. I think a lot of people are talking at boardrooms right now, kind of debating what to do with Rings of Power. Because I don't really know what you can do with it. If you're staying the course and season 2 is already in production, you've either got to gut the whole thing and essentially kind of soft reboot it and start from scratch. But you can't, because you've already established these characters. Their personality types have already been outlined in season 1, and you can't drastically change them in season 2 because that won't make any sense. It's foundationally, it's just fucked. I think their best bet, what they can do is scrap the Rings of Power entirely, but they've still got a window into creating a Middle-earth TV show, at least for 4 more seasons. Just hit the reset button and just do something completely different. And I don't think they can, because contracts have probably been signed. They've probably drafted people in for X amount of seasons. And this was not the hit they wanted it to be. They needed this. They needed everyone talking about this, and in a positive way. They needed this to take the whole world by storm. And I think that's what they were expecting, in the sheer fucking hubris from them. And it's backfired horribly.
Well, the problem is they're in a lose-lose situation, because if they do completely change it because of the fans' outcry, then they're going to lose the audience that they already have who love this show. And to be fair, I don't think a lot of fans who didn't like season 1 would be asked if season 2's any good. Like, I don't know how they can recover it at all. And Patrick McKay, who's one of the writers, this is who Amazon have got to write this show. He's got 3 writing credits. So he's got Lord of the Rings of Power, Flash Gordon, and Star Trek Beyond. He's got 3 writing credits. And he's been trusted to write this show. I mean...
Is this a new Flash Gordon thing they're working on? It's not the original, surely.
No, it's a new one. It's a... let's have a look. Yeah, it's a new one coming out. But he's had 2 producing credits as well, Flash Gordon, that's coming out. So he's not very experienced. And they entrusted this series on him. Like, come on, someone at the top needs to get fired for this. Like, it's awful. The amount of money. Well, to be fair, how much money do you reckon they've lost? Or even made? I mean,
there's the budget, and then there's the massive amounts of marketing they've had on this thing. And the marketing has been pushed to the nth degree. So they usually say whatever the budget is of the TV show or the film or whatever. This is mostly with films, I think. The marketing is usually half of what the budget is, added on top of it before they start to make a profit. So
I just
I've
want to
no
double
idea.
check this because I swear we didn't get a trailer for the show until this year.
It was
Which
late.
I thought
It was very late
which
coming out. Yeah, Super Bowl, I think, was the first trailer that came out, the first proper one.
I thought it was really bizarre. Like, normally you'd have to build up like a trailer a year before, you know, get the fans excited. Because I kept on thinking, when's this trailer coming?
Yeah, same.
And I think that's really poor from the marketing team. Yeah, the trailer was 8 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awful, and I'm glad it's season 1's over, and we've got to wait another 2 years.
Mark your calendars. 2024.
Yes, come on, another 8 hours worth of nothing.
So I kind of alluded on Twitter earlier when I did the post for this that during this conversation, we've got a rough plan, by the way, guys. We will be sort of like segueing over to that in a second, but I put in my social media post of how we're going to be talking about the bad, the ugly, and the good, if we can think of anything. So I think just as sort of like a season 1 recap, if we hit all of those sections, and don't get me wrong, there's a hell of a lot of bad, there's a hell of a lot of ugly, and not very much good in this. But if you had to pick one from each section, the biggest offenders that just fit into all of those categories, which would you pick? So the bad, what would you say is the worst thing if you could pin it down to either one event narratively, a character, a lore deviation? But if you had to pick one, what do you think was the worst thing that was in this show? All surrounding the show. It doesn't have to be in the show. You could pick like the whole mismanagement and the way they've treated the fans and stuff like that. That could be a bad from it.
I think the worst thing is everything to do with Galadriel. Like, everything with her doesn't make sense. Like, you know, when she jumped off the ship and, you know, decided to swim the distance, and we're not sure if she was willing to kill herself or if she genuinely believed that she could have swam all that distance. Like, that threw me off. The character being just constantly moody, you know, she doesn't have this grace about her. All we know is that she's the leader of the Northern armies and that her brother died to Sauron in a really shit way because the brother died protecting Beren, in
the torture pit. Yeah. He fought hand to hand with a fucking werewolf. That's awesome. Well, in the book he did. In the show, I don't know if you could infer that still happened, but it shows him fighting in a battle, and then right after that, he's on a bed and he's dead. There's a couple of scratch marks on him, so I guess you could maybe, if you wanted to, just say, oh, Sauron kidnapped him and he died by a werewolf, but...
Yeah, but don't forget, Sauron put the mark on him that is meant to help all the orcs navigate him, apparently. Instead of like sending out a messenger, it's like, no, we're just going to put it on this elven lord who's already been captured by me. Like, what's your plan to send him out? Like,
well, to your point about that, just Galadriel and everything in general, it's the inconsistency with the writing within characters across the season. Even if you go with, okay, we're not going to follow the basis of the character from the books and we're going to do our own thing, even the internal consistency of their newly created story and characterization of Galadriel makes no sense. This is a character who's just completely schizophrenic from episode to episode. She will say something that really raises an eyebrow, and then in the next episode completely backpedals on it and feels like a totally different character and has a different moral compass and everything like that. To your point about the mark on her brother that she's looking for, in the opening prologue, you've got the voiceover, and I wish I could have written this down verbatim. She mentions that this was like a mysterious mark, like no one knew what it meant across the ages. And she's traveling through the snow and she finds this mark again. Nothing, doesn't say a thing. She's trying to discover the mystery behind this mark and what it means. And as soon as she sees that identical mark on a random map in Numenor, she knows exactly what it is, that it's a
Yeah.
map to the Southlands. And right there, the internal consistency with the character is just completely broken. You've got scenes where she's interrogating Adar, and she's saying, I will not rest until I have seen every man, woman, and child orc murdered in front of my eyes, and I will bathe in their blood, and I will laugh maniacally. She's completely deranged and genocidal. And then the next episode, when Theo is like, oh, I want to get revenge on those orcs, I can't wait to kill me some orcs, she's like, you don't want to do that. It leaves a mark on you, and that's a bad thing, and you shouldn't do those things. Like last episode, you were saying how much she had such a hard on for killing orcs and killing all of the orcs, and now she's like, oh no, don't do that. It's not great. But there's been no progression to get us to this new like moral place that Galadriel's. The writing's just all over the place, and it's not just Galadriel. It's character wide. It's across the whole entire show.
Well, Galadriel's, as we've seen throughout the whole show, despises Sauron. Her main goal throughout this season is to find him and kill him. And that scene in season 10, honestly, it infuriated me, because in the story, in the Tolkien lore, so you have Anatars come to Eregion.
Yeah, I think it's
Eregion. Come to Eregion. He's manipulating Celebrimbor and them forging the rings. And Galadriel's I can't speak. Sorry, distrusts Anatar, and has Celebrimbor like hide the rings. And within this show, she's suspicious because she checks. So she's suspicious because Celebrimbor and Halbrand are getting close. They're getting on. So she's suspicious. Then she goes and asks an elf to find the histories of the Southlands, even though she looked up that stuff in Numenor. And that's where she determined that he was the king, even though he told her that he wasn't, and he got it from a dead man. And then she finds out that it's Sauron, and what does she do? She tells no one.
Absolutely nothing.
She's been spending this whole season trying to convince everyone that Sauron is alive and that they need to fight him. As soon as she finds out, nah. And I've seen people defend this, saying that, oh, she's ashamed. She's ashamed about what she's done, that she's been associated with Sauron, that she might have even fallen in love with Sauron. It's like, and still you would report this. If my best mate stabbed someone and killed someone, I wouldn't be like, you know what? No, I'm not telling anyone. F this.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, hold up. This is wrong.
Yeah.
And the fact that Elrond just somehow knows once he's picked up that scroll, and how stupid is it that Halbrand confesses that he's Sauron? What is he gaining from that? He knows that she hates Sauron.
Well, in that moment as well, like I don't feel like Galadriel has any real reason to suspect Halbrand. I think the thing that you could suspect is that he's got a grievous infected wound, but has still managed to travel 6 days and is absolutely fine, and gets healed off. So I guess that could raise suspicion. Like, well, hang on, how did you survive that? You're just a mortal man. When in actual fact he's a Maiar. Of course, he is Sauron. But she has no real cause to suspect him, I don't think. She knows he's a blacksmith. He comes to Eregion, and in the presence of Celebrimbor, who is the most famed and the most accomplished smith of his age. and he's showing an interest and he's asking questions. And for some reason, this triggers her, and she goes, "Oh, hang on, no, this guy is getting really too close to this stuff." And it's like, well, that's his character. That's been what's been established.
Yeah.
He's a blacksmith. He does this for a living, and she knows this. So I'm fine with.
Halbrand's got new ideas. Oh,
Yeah.
there's something wrong
alloying.
about that.
Yeah, alloying metals, which Celebrimbor's like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. I'm like, Celebrimbor, like, look how they massacred my boy. Not only did they completely fuck up Celebrimbor from the actor they got to play him, because, you know, he's like 60 years too old to play Celebrimbor. But Celebrimbor's just completely nerfed in this and just totally out of the loop and isn't a master of his craft because he doesn't know how alloying works. There's so many things wrong with this, but yeah, chief among them the fact that this has been Galadriel's mission since episode 1. And again, it goes back to what I'm saying, even if it does deviate from the source material, in their internal logic and consistency of this character, it completely dismantles in the last one. Not to mention as well, Sauron seeming genuinely sympathetic towards Galadriel. And I know he's a master deceiver, but in that moment, you believe him that he does have he even comes out right and says it, that I want you for my queen, that we have a connection. I want you to rule with me. Sauron would, with an elf, with a lesser being of an elf, there's nothing worse than like, it's like a piece of shit on his shoe. Like, he doesn't care. Yeah. He would never get with an elf that is so below him, and they're just primitive beings as far as he's concerned. That would never happen. Would never happen.
No.
And the worst thing about that too for me is the fact that Celeborn is mentioned once in this whole show. Mentioned once. It almost feels like a reshoot because he's never established at any point before that Galadriel's all about her brother being killed, but never about the fact that her fucking husband was kidnapped by Sauron and taken away and tortured and is presumed dead by her, at least at this point. So when she's like in Inception and Sauron's, you know, penetrating her mind and taking her to all these different scenarios and everything, it goes back to her brother in the Undying Lands. When he's making a come on to her and he's saying, you know, join me and together we can rule the galaxy as husband and wife. Never once does she says, I have a husband. You took him from me. That never comes back up. And that's so strange. You feel like that would be a massive thing. Not only is it her brother, but it's also who's been killed, but also her husband's been taken away. And in those moments where Sauron's making a romantic pass at her, surely Celeborn would be the first thing that comes to mind there, and it's just never mentioned. That's really weird to me.
By the way, they've been married since the first stage. And yeah, he's just been forgotten. And that was something I picked out before, that is the fact that she went through all this effort to find Finrod, and she doesn't share that same enthusiasm in trying to find a husband that she's so deeply in love with, apparently, because she saw him dancing. They danced together. I wonder what that's referencing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tolkien likes his fair maidens dancing in glades and everything. He loves that shit. But yeah, I don't think it quite went down that way. And also the question mark of Celebrian. What's happening with that? Because we need an Arwen, and if Elrond in this show is interested in a toddler, that's really weird to me and extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is really weird because, like I say, I think Elrond visits them in Lothlorien. I might be getting that wrong. And, you know, she's smitten by him, you know, and then they go and have Arwen. And like you said, I genuinely don't know how they're going to feed that in.
Because
they'll probably forget. I mean, they want
more.
Oh, no, definitely not. This
comes across as very much like teenage Galadriel, you know, full of angst and wrath and everything. Like, she doesn't feel like the calm, collected level. Well, she doesn't feel anything like Cate Blanchett's Galadriel, in all honesty. But this doesn't strike me as someone who's a mother, and like, well, she hasn't even mentioned a child yet. So as far as I'm concerned, Celebrian probably hasn't been born yet in the context of this show. But you've got a very handy timeline prepared. I don't know if you want to bring it up just yet, or if we'll
Yeah,
save
I
it till
can pull
later.
that up.
But they've played fast and loose with the narrative is, yeah. Let me just bring that up real quick. Yeah, if you
It's
just
an
want to talk a little bit about this.
understatement. So the as you can see, there is let's have a look. There's just under 2,000 years difference between the start of this timeline and the end of it. So we begin the timeline with in the year 1300. So the Numenorians began establishing permanent settlements in Middle Earth. So I don't know about you, but I didn't catch any references of that within the show.
They mention about having antagonistic relationships with the elves, which implies that the elves have either come to them at some point, or maybe the Numenorians have ventured to Middle Earth and had some interaction with the elves there. A history that has long since gone. That was probably, I think, when it was like founded, wasn't it? There's a whole history of Numenor, and I need to get more read up on it, so I'm not going to spit facts that I don't know are true or not. And I think it was a certain leader who came in who severed all ties with the elves, and then I think Miriel's father was the one who wanted to try and bring those back in. I think I might be misremembering that correctly, but ultimately I think the only mention is that they've had relations with the elves, which implies that they probably have been to Middle Earth at some point. Whether they've established any settlements there, though, I'm not sure. I don't think we see any depicted in the show, as far as I remember.
No. The only thing that I can remember from the show is that they helped them during the First Age.
Yeah,
and they haven't been there since, apparently. That's all that I can remember from the show. I'll have to rewatch it.
Oh,
and
God.
I'm sure I'm going to enjoy that. So then we move on to the year 1500, and the rings start to get forged. So this is where Anator's starting to deceive, is manipulating Celebrimbor, and the start of the 19 rings start to get forged, not just the 3 that we see in the show. And this is where, Galadriel starts to get a little bit suspicious of Anator, and it takes 90 years for the rings to get forged.
That's a long
Bearing
time.
in mind, how long did it take in the show? Was it about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
It took it.
Yeah.
They condensed 90 years in about 10 minutes. And that's when the rings are finally forged, like all of them, I think, apart from the one ring.
And I feel like 5 of those minutes were slow-mo shots of the ring on a very well-presented cushion at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah, and, Galadriel's just picked one up. I mean, we haven't established why she's having one.
Because she wanted one. She was like...
Oh, yeah.
She was the one who comes at them with the idea of making the rings in the first place, doesn't she? She's like, oh, no, there should be 3. And it's just like, okay, sure.
3, because 3 is equal. It's like, no. No, it isn't.
Writing.
Oh.
Well, she says, like, 1 is total control, 2 divides us, 3 is balanced. I'm like, okay.
It's like, okay.
Doesn't that just divide you even more? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because then what if 2 of you agree and 1 of you doesn't? Then there's always going to be a rift.
2/3 majority.
Yeah. So then we moved to the year 1700. So this is when the Numenorians first come over to Middle Earth in the Second Age to help fight Sauron. So this is like the first real excursion, is it? I can't speak tonight. I've had a long days of shoots. Yeah. So bearing in mind, Ar-Pharazôn doesn't appear until, like, the 3000s. So it's quite a long way away that they introduce him. So we have that, and then we move on to skip everything there, and we move on to the year 3119, and that's the year that Elendil is born. So if you think about that, the rings started to get forged in the year 1500, and they've condensed all that time period in 8 episodes. I mean, that's great. I mean,
now here's the thing, right? When they're condensing the timeline, I get probably for the visual medium that it's necessary sometimes to do that. Peter Jackson did it with The Lord of the Rings a lot of the times. Before Frodo even sets out with the ring in the books, there's like 17 years he spends in the Shire with this ring.
There's a whole chapter of him moving out.
Yeah, they condense the geography of the world as well, at least from what we see on screen, skipping out things like the Old Forest. The Old Forest is mentioned in the Two Towers, though, but the actual journey through the Old Forest and Tom Bombadil and the Barrow Downs is all skipped out. So it seems like they get to breathe pretty briskly, all things considered. Although it does cut, so you could imply that, oh, maybe some of that stuff did happen still, but whatever. The point is, he condenses the story down quite a lot. He did it with The Hobbit as well. And I feel like you need to, when you've got, a couple of hours that you need to, a few hours that you need to tell this massive sprawling story. And with something like the Silmarillion, which I know they don't have the rights to, but some of the stories from that, there are these massive, as we can see from the timeline there, these massive literal millennia time jumps. But the point is they've got 5 seasons to tell this story. They don't need to rush it to the degree they did. Like, they might have to condense some things, I get that, but to the degree they did, absolutely no need for it. To me, it just felt like the show's called The Rings of Power. What will people think if we get to the end of season 1 and the Rings of Power haven't been created yet? And I don't know. Like,
they're skipping a whole war in between that timeline. Like,
and focusing on stuff that's completely fiction. Well, I say fictionalized. Like, obviously, I know the Lord of the Rings is fiction, but coming up with their own stuff that is taken away from screen time and things that you could have actually fleshed out. Obviously there is a cause for coming up with probably original characters and of course original dialogue, because the dialogue's pretty scant in those passages in the Silmarillion and the appendices. But focus on that. I really don't get why they rushed that.
Yeah, I really don't get why they rushed the forging of the rings. I would have loved to have seen Sauron manipulating more. Like, you're honestly telling me that him telling Ar-Pharazôn to let Galadriel go is manipulation? Like, is that your best that you can show us? You've got plenty of source material, interesting source material. Even if you could write interesting dialogue between Halbrand and Galadriel, trying to manipulate her, rather than like, she's my queen, come join me. Show a vision of me on top of the raft with you looking in the water, because it's a good screensaver.
Did we find out how Halbrand got on that raft in the first place? Or Sauron, I guess we'd call him now.
Manipulation. I can't even speak. Manipulation. There we go.
So he wanted to get on the raft in order to get to Numenor. Okay.
And Sauron hasn't been to Numenor at this point.
No. And he wanted to stay there, and it's all Galadriel's fault for getting him back to Middle-earth.
I mean, to be fair, if I was to defend him, he does say he got the crest from a dead man. He does say it. And she's like, I don't believe you. And then says, oh yeah, you are the king. And it's his decision whether the Númenóreans go to Middle-earth or not. For some reason, it's his decision.
It's the fact that the writers were so proud of this twist, though, at the end, and even to the point in the finale, how they try and bait and switch you at the beginning by trying to convince you that Gandalf's actually Sauron, when you've got these 3 creepy witch ladies who may or may not be Nazgul. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm so confused by that. I don't have an explanation for that at all. yeah, they try and go like, oh no, he is Sauron, to try and fake the audience, and this is one of the worst twists ever, because there was just no suspense. That people predicted this shit before the show even came out.
Well, there's
Yeah.
been no build up, really. Like, where's the hint? Oh, because he's a smith, he enjoys smithing. It's like, yeah, I mean, fair play, but
I
you
think the
haven't
hints are actually
really.
kind of blatant, I must admit. But obviously, I was going into this show already expecting that he was Sauron, and heavily expecting that. So as soon as he took a sinister, slow look to the smithing, I was like, okay, that's it. He's Sauron. Right from there, I'm like, okay, I've got it. But then the show really makes a big deal of it, like it's this big, shocking, world-ending twist, and it just isn't. It's just whatever.
No.
And then the motivation, and then he sports this nice, stylish, because he's like Sith now. He's like emo Peter Parker from Spider-Man
Yeah.
3 with his little black hoodie. And Boromir says one does not simply walk into Mordor, but at the end, Halbrand literally walks into Mordor from Eregion.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
about 6 days, isn't it? Or it might be more,
6
depending on
days
where
ride
that camp
on
is.
horse, and those horses weren't
Yes.
stopping as well. I would assume
Yes.
that a horse would have to stop at some point for food, drink, and rest. But apparently it was just, and then watching Fellowship of the Ring again, it's another shameless callback to when Frodo gets stabbed, and we must get him to my father. But we're 6 days from Rivendell. He'll never make it. It's exactly the same amount of days, they
Yeah.
say. Ride. It's another callback.
And
You might not have noticed it, but your brain did.
no one goes after him. Like,
No.
Galadriel doesn't like warn anyone and say, "Oh my God, where is he? Who? Sauron!" and go after him. It's like, no, we're just gonna let him roll. Let him do what he wants, really. And
To your
going
point-
back to Mordor, I think it's an
Yeah.
absolute joke when I think about it that Waldrig, an old man,
Forgot about him.
created Mordor. I changed my mind. Galadriel isn't the worst thing to happen in the show. That is
Waldrig.
Waldrig. Oh my God. He created Mordor.
He put a sword in a stone, which was a key, which turned a valve, which made water pour into a volcano and caused it to erupt, which devastated an entire continent, I guess, like an entire portion of land. And then we get that very nice little, in case you missed it, Southlands, Mordor, that title thing in the corner. Do you remember that?
Was that the that wasn't the end shot to this show, was it? This episode, the last episode?
No, the final shot of the episode
one?
was it was I think it was the previous one, yeah, where they've now created the land of Mordor. Oh no, it might have been the end of episode 6, I think.
See,
I can't
as
remember.
you can tell, this
No,
show
6
is definitely
six
not
ended with the pyroclastic flow. 7, yeah, it was the end of episode 7. Yeah, you're right. But going back to the whole Southlands thing real quick, you mentioned, Galadriel somehow gets like a piece of parchment with the whole lineage of kings from the Southlands and finds that the line was broken. Again, another callback. That line was broken. Yep. It's just all the little bits, as subtle as they are, they all amount up. I swear to God, though, when Halbrand was presented to the people from the Southlands, and this is your king, the ancient king has returned. All of them were like, "Oh, our king has returned." If all of them were like somewhat savvy about their heritage, they'd go, "Well, no, hang on, the line was broken. Like this, we don't have a king. There is no king anymore." But they're all on board with him, and they're the people from the Southlands. And then also the fact that this scroll is in like the libraries of Eregion or whatever, probably Gil-galad has access to it, and Elrond and Celebrimbor, yet none of them are aware of Halbrand until Galadriel gets this scroll. Like, a lot of them are read up on their history and they know their shit and probably know family trees and lineages and things like that, and the fact that none of them know about it is very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of let a stranger into the council, really.
Yeah.
Like, no one, I mean, they're using Galadriel's word, taking her word on it. I mean, she's wrong in the end, but she's meant to be in Valinor and they kind of brush that aside as Gil-galad just passes a comment and that's it. We're done with that. You know,
It's kind of funny
Gil-galad's
though, where Gil-galad hits her with like, "You shouldn't be here." I'm like, yeah, she shouldn't. She
yeah,
should be in
you shouldn't.
Valinor.
Yeah, I mean, even that, Galadriel gets the chance to go to Valinor towards the end of the First Age after Morgoth's defeated, and she doesn't take a part. She doesn't accept that invitation. Whereas this, it's like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna have a swim. We're gonna fake it out, and I swear down, every time I think about a scene, I just cringe and go, oh, it's anger. See, I've done
I
it
see
again.
I see what you're saying about like the worst thing about this being the fact that she didn't say anything about Sauron, or just Galadriel in general. I think the worst scene of Galadriel for me, though, if we're keeping it on Galadriel, I'll have to try and think of a bad thing in a moment. Oh, I can think of plenty of bad things, but one really, really bad thing to like rule them all. Oh, there's that review. We'll get to that in a second, actually. It's the scene where she was teaching the men of Numenor how to fight, because that was just so laughably cringe. It was an agonizing scene for me to sit through. That it was so incompetently put together, terrible choreography. The fact that she's teaching the men of Numenor how to fight, who are already meant to be like seasoned soldiers. This is basically almost like a Sparta kind of state. I always kind of looked at it as that all of them could fight. The fact that ultimately her teachings are, in order to kill orcs, you have to stab them, which is hilarious.
Like, these are the best of the best. Like, Sauron fears these people. Like, these help to win the war against Morgoth. You know, these are not some, new people into the art of war. These should be seasoned warriors. They should be trained warriors. And like you said, her advice literally is to just stab him, and then proceeds to not do that while she's fighting. And I hate that shot of one of the Númenórean soldiers that you see in that episode when he stabs an orc. You see him stab and then twist and then pull it out.
Oh, I missed that. Oh,
yeah, it's the curly head guy.
Yeah.
He stabs, twists his blade, and it's like, oh yes, he learned. And that scene baffles me still, how they got the soldiers to spar with real blades. I mean, who does that? And your reward for scoring flesh, no matter if you're a novice, is you can be commander. Or captain? What was these rewards?
Oh, it was I forgot that they get promoted to
you got a promotion even though we got kicked off. Like, he got kicked off the course and he scored flesh. And she's just so smug about it. It's not as if she's trying to teach these people and be like, oh no, take that step, just you need to work on this a little bit. It's like, don't fight with your hands, fight with your feet. Great. Well done.
Segue. Let's get to this review, because one of their main factors at the beginning is that this is a very well-written fantasy show. But let's go to the first bit right now, because this is going to factor. A lot of our comments are going to be pertaining to this review, I fear. Absolutely love from Stefan Iazoda. Yeah. This is not literally Lord of the Rings. Well, I hate to stop you there already from those first few words. The very name of the show, which they almost broke their neck to try and cram into the title, is The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. They had to get that name drop in there. So it might not literally be the story of Lord of the Rings, but it's still the same IP that they're throwing in there, and it's in the goddamn namesake of the show. Continuing. Yeah. And it's a shame for anyone comparing it to the books. Well, they like to mention that it's based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Apparently, they're all Tolkien fans. You had the Tolkien Superfan video that was released. Did you see that video, by the way, of one of it was the girl who was like, "Oh, my girl Galadriel," like it was her. She did
Oh
a
no.
TikTok weeks into the show. I think we're on like episode 3 or 4 at the time, I think. And someone asked her like, "What are your thoughts on House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power?" And she's like, "Well, I haven't started watching Rings of Power yet because I'm watching House of the Dragon and loving it, and that's so
Yeah.
good that I think that the Rings of Power is going to have a lot to live up to. But I don't want to watch it yet because I don't want to watch 2 fantasy shows at the same time, and I'll watch it after I finish with House of the Dragon." If you're a super fan, I don't give a shit. I don't care how busy your schedule is. If you're a super fan of
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings and you're hyped for your girl Galadriel, then you would watch it
Yeah.
day one. I'm sorry, you would. You would be
Yeah.
watching both at the same time. She just didn't
And
give a
by the
shit.
way, the House of the Dragon shits on this.
Still haven't watched it, and I am tempted to watch it now. It's all said and done. I've heard it's fantastic, so I
Honestly,
might give that a watch.
I hated how Game of Thrones ended, and I thought I would
Same.
never rewatch it again.
That's
But
where
this
I'm at.
show has got me back into it. Like, it's amazing. But yeah, if you want to carry on with the amazing
Yes, let's get back to
review.
it. Bath time with Vaughan. We've got him in again. He's back. He says, "I wonder how this is going to go." Well, you've been a regular viewer, my friend, of the live streams of the rest of the season, so you probably know how this video is going to go and what we're going to say about it. Hopefully, we can offer some new things though that we haven't brought up yet. Cole Roberts says House of Dragon is great. Yeah. As soon as I'm almost finished Better Call Saul, I've got 2 episodes left on that. I do need to finish the rest of season 4 of Stranger Things because that's how far behind I am with my TV shows. And then I probably will get onto House of the Dragon because I've heard nothing but good things about it across the board from reviewers I trust as well. So yeah, I will get round to it. But that's kind of the boat that I was in, is that this is a prequel to a story that ends like absolute shit. So I don't care how good it is because it's still going to end up in the same place. But maybe I can just kind of tunnel vision and just pretend House of the Dragons is its own thing. And
Yeah.
I know it is obviously tied into Game of Thrones, of course it is, but in my own mind, for my own peace of mind, I can just look at it as this like new, in a vacuum kind of show, that stands on its own.
Yeah, it totally
yeah.
stands on its own, and yeah, I would suggest watching it. It's amazing.
Okay, it's a shame for anyone comparing it to the books. Well, I'm sorry, but as a fan of Lord of the Rings or like defending Tolkien's legacy, I feel like it's almost inevitable to kind of compare it to the books, because especially when the books do everything better in every single way compared to this show. And in any way, like, it almost gets to the point where you can't compare it to the books because it is so far gone from the books that it basically is its own original creation. I say original creation, yet at times feels infinitely unoriginal in itself, and very cliche in terms of its writing and predictable. But oh god, here we go. But a very well written fantasy show with fantastic sword and fighting choreography.
Oh yeah, it was truly amazing. When Galadriel just decided to fall off a horse and just stay frozen like that until she literally dissected the orc. Oh yeah, that fighting, and I forgot the scene when she got captured. That was amazing. The martial arts, the fact that people walked into the cell, these 7-foot Numenorians, gosh, getting beat by a 5'6", probably 5'4"
That's
actress.
generous.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's generous. Oh, what did you think of the choreography?
Oh
of the
well,
show?
I'm going back to that scene I already mentioned, the training on Numenor. Even you don't even need to slow it down and freeze frame it, but obviously it does help to catch things. Watching it in real time was enough for me. The choreography in that, and the not just that, but the framing of the camera, and
Yep.
you could tell that they were going in for moves that were clearly going to miss, and it's all about where you place the camera, and it's awful. That whole scene in a bubble is just terrible, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So
I think
that's
you
where all the
mentioned
choreography is
this.
coming to me.
I think you mentioned this earlier on, and I was thinking about it. I really don't like the slow-mo shots in this series. Like, the times that they choose to have slow motion. Like when Galadriel's riding the horse and she's doing that creepy smile. The rings,
that was funny.
where they have like about 10 minutes of just, you know, the camera twirling. And, you know, we have that scene as well in that sequence where Galadriel dodges a sword and she does like Neo
like
from the Matrix. And
yeah, it's like the backwards.
And she's smiling.
Bend, isn't it?
She's smiling at how good she is. It's like, oh my God, even though they are fully going for a head, like that's a full-on swing.
It doesn't come across as a training scenario, does it? It comes across as, oh yeah, I just want to prove that I'm amazing and better at everything than everyone. Like she's reveling in how good of a fighter she is.
I mean, what are they learning?
Yeah.
What are they learning during that scene? Like she's told them to stab, twist, and gut, and they're swinging. Like, what's she meant to be teaching them? And I love how Elendil is just like, yeah, go on. You teach him. The famous Galadriel, apparently, leader of the Northern armies.
Titles. King of the Andals and the First Men.
Well, they kind of ripped
of the realm.
That scene off, though, didn't they? When she's introduced to Miriel, she kind of like lists all of her entitlements, and like Halbrand's just there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the choreography was just shocking.
Well, you know, as soon as Galadriel's brought before Miriel, and you know, Miriel quite rightly so, is actually acting kind of relatively nice and cordial with Galadriel. Galadriel just starts like immediately making demands and is like resentful and hateful. And like, your mother sucks cocks in hell, like to Miriel. And like everyone's like, Halbrand's like, dude, chill. Like I'm on Halbrand's side and this guy's fucking Sauron. And I'm like, he's like, dude, chill. Like, Galadriel, what are you doing?
Like, I think she might have pipped Sauron to the post of having the most hateful quote in the show, like the most evil
there is
quote
a tempest in me. Yeah.
There are, when she's like, oh, I'm gonna kill all of your family and I'm gonna kill all the orcs and make you watch, and then I'm gonna kill you. You know, wow, that's really evil.
Like, even Sauron's like, shit, like I'm the Lord of all darkness, and even I'm not that cruel.
See, that's probably why he loves her. He's like, damn. Like, jeez. But I've just had a look at the review there, the way it says amazing characters.
Oh, in capital, no less.
I know. So that's a statement right there.
Amazing characters with very nicely picked actors.
Can you name 5 characters that you like?
None that I like. Two come to mind that I really like the actors and just wish they'd have been given better material with the show. The first actor is the guy who plays Elendil. I actually think with better material, he could have been genuinely really fucking good. And you can see that he's trying, but he's just got nothing to work with. And the other one is Joseph Maul, who plays Adar. Why wasn't this guy cast as Sauron? Like from the initial casting, I was like, well, he's playing Anatar then. He's Sauron. And maybe you could argue that, maybe he's a bit too villainous, but he does have a presence about him. And although the writing's terrible, the writing is absolutely shit with him. But out of all the characters now that this season 1 is done, he remains the one that I'm still kind of curious to see. And when he had a scene on screen, I was like, okay. Like when he's doing that battle speech for the orcs and he's like, my brothers and sisters, we will create our new land and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, I could get behind this guy. I'd be in the orc army right now. It's better than the hero speech. And then in
although
that
he does kind of just
go on, sorry.
Well, he does kind of just kill that Theo's mate for some reason.
Oh yeah,
I don't get why.
But apparently he's got beef with Sauron as well, hasn't he? He's like, oh, I killed Sauron or something. That was never tied up. So, not that I wanted everything tied up in season 1, but the pacing of this show was very, very frustrating. especially towards the finale, because you think the finale is where you leave all of your characters off in some kind of cliffhanger, or they all come into the fray. There were no dwarves. There was nothing at Khazad-dûm that whole episode. So our
No.
finale of Khazad-dûm is a Balrog that is awakened by a falling leaf. So it's like, okay, does
Wow.
that mean the Balrog's awake? So does that mean that in the next episode of season 2, he's tearing that shit up at Khazad-dûm? Or is he still going to wait a few thousand years before showing up? But he's awake. He's awake.
Because of a leaf.
Yeah.
Like,
Not because they delved too greedily or too deep, but because someone was fucking littering with autumn leaves.
I've got a little game for you at the moment.
Ooh.
I've got some quotes from the show. I want you to guess who says this.
Is this going to be the very well-written fantasy show quotes right now? Okay.
The same wind that seeks to blow out a fire may also cause its spread.
Oh, the same fire. That sounds like an elven line to me.
Ooh.
And I want to say that's probably Gil-galad or Elrond. I'm going to go Gil-galad on that one.
You have earned a point.
Oh,
it
excellent.
was Gil-galad.
There we go. Bath Time's got it as well. He's in the game as well.
Oh, is it right? Next one. You'll like this one.
Okay.
If we didn't do everything we weren't supposed to do, we'd hardly do anything at all.
If we didn't do any, that's just not English. If we didn't do anything we weren't supposed to do, we wouldn't do nothing at all. That sounds like a Hobbit line, and I'm gonna say that's female Frodo.
Oh, yeah, but what's the name though?
Oh God, it's something like Meriadoc Brandybuck or something, isn't it?
Think of one of the dwarfs from The Hobbit, who's also a fish.
Nori Proud Adopt.
No, close. Person. No, you're close.
Am I gonna get the surname as well? Oh
no,
God.
I'll give you that. No, it's Brandyfoot.
Brandyfoot. There we go. Brandy feet.
What's a fat mate? Is it? What's the name?
Fat mate.
Sorry, I'm fat as well. I can relate. What's the name? Poppy Proudfoot.
Poppy
Proudfoot. No, Proudfallow. That's it. Poppy Proudfallow.
It's Hobbit word salad at this point, isn't it? It's just throw everything together.
Right. I'm gonna.
Okay, he's got it as well. He went in with Dad Halffoot ? But then settled on Nori. So I'll give him the point as well. Oh, there, Poppy Merry Hands, Mary Poppins, Merry Hands Poppy, Mary Poppy Hands.
I mean, I thought they were gonna do a moment where she's like, "I'm coming with you."
Yeah, same. She's gonna meet up with her again. She'll chase up with her.
Oh yeah. I'll give you one more quote.
Okay.
Whilst you read that review, and then I'll find some more for you.
Okay,
so
in the game, everyone, come on, let's get head in the game.
What cannot be known hollows the mind. Fill it not with guesswork.
Ooh,
I mean, this is shit writing. I'm going to be honest.
It's really shit. Give me that again.
Awful.
Give me that again.
What cannot be known hollows the mind. Fill it not with guesswork.
Oh, that's either Galadriel's brother or Miriel.
Oh, you're gonna have to. What's chat said?
That. So Bath Time's gone in with. Oh no, he's right. Yeah, no, he is right with that. I remember it now. Yeah, Galadriel to Theo in it. Yeah.
Because I brought up the point because then she goes ahead and guesses that his mother's at the camp, and that's another thing that I hate is the fact that she doesn't search for her son. Like, she's fine. She's accepted that Theo's died.
She's
like,
hooking up with a
oh
new baby
no.
daddy. Like she's good.
Like, oh, I've had so much blood loss from 2 arrows. F
Well,
him. And apparently,
yeah.
that's another thing as well. Do you know when she takes Galadriel up to Queen Miriel, who's blind, who's trying to hide the fact that she's blind by wearing a cloth covering her eyes,
And then just
but
doesn't bother in the end and just walks out anyway.
like she. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten my points. Sorry. Oh, it's something to do with. Oh, what's her name? What is her name? The
What, Muriel?
woman. Not Muriel. The other woman who got 2 arrows in her.
Bronwyn,
Oh yeah, she
Breowyn?
mentions Bronwyn. That's it. She mentions that the wounded are all healed and on their feet. So you're telling me that the guy who got his knees literally burnt off, you got the guy who's full of burns, covered in burns, they're fine. And I love how the elf didn't use any medicine on them. He
No,
only
no.
used it for his woman.
Plot
Ugh.
centric. Yeah, plot centric characters. Weird tangent. We're talking about blood loss. Bath Time says, "Oh yeah, House of the Dragon, some terrifying blood loss scenes. They were horrific."
Yes.
Sold. I want to watch this show now. That sounds pretty good to me.
There's only one scene that's questionable, where I was like, that took me out of it. I'm not going to ruin it
Kill
yet.
Bill or something out of nowhere.
Yeah, there was a little bit of plot armor.
Oh, okay.
But the rest of the show's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just saving some more quotes.
Right. Let's just chip. We'll do a bit more of this review, and then we'll do some more quotes, and then we'll get back to the bad, the ugly, and the good, if we have anything. Between the little nuances of humor, I mean, the unintentional humor from the show, down to the piss poor writing and awful acting. Yeah, this was a laugh riot. But if you're talking about like actual jokes within the show, can you think of any jokes that really landed with you, like actual jokes within the writing and not just the writing itself?
What jokes are there? So
Little
you got
nuances of
Durin
humor.
saying, "Give it to me raw."
Hey guys, that's what we're doing with this review tonight. We're giving you the meat and we're giving it to you raw. And last time I said that to someone, I got a restraining order.
Oh no, you didn't have to tell him. Gosh. Oh, what? So we have the scene where not Gandalf falls down the hill. That's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
What else is there? I swear there's more. Where Durin tells Gilgalad that table's meant to be sacred.
Yeah.
And what if Gilgalad turned around and said, "No, it isn't. I know my law." Like, what would happen then? It's like, fair enough. Cheers. I mean, what other scenes? There's a couple with Deezer, is there?
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing was like really laugh out loud with. I did get a smirk when he lied about the table. I did laugh at that. Bath Time agrees. He says that hang on, if it clicks, there we go. Durin was the only funny person. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, I needed that. And then Bath Time says as well, there was something about Eärendil shoveling shit on a boat. Or not Eärendil, Isildur. I mean, I want to say the funniest goddamn things for me was the slow-mo shot of Galadriel on the horse where she looks mentally challenged, which was but again,
mentally challenged,
the actual humor. Yeah,
I'll tell you actually what the funny scene was when that not Nazgul woman gets stabbed in the foot and she just turns around like, yeah.
Like, I watched a live stream and someone says that, are you familiar? Do you know Star Wars? Like Star Wars?
Yes.
If I go with like a really obscure thing that only Star Wars fans will know, Empire Strikes Back, where Yoda falls off Luke and he goes like, concentrate. It's like the same face she made.
Yes, it is.
She goes like all bug-eyed with it, like if you pause the frame. Oh, the weird Nazgul ladies with incredible thighs, I might add. They have every right to get their legs out on display, but then yeah, that one of them's when they turn into like the spectral wraith things, that the middle one's got a crown, and it's clearly chasing after the whole Weathertop scene where Frodo sees the Nazgul in wraith form. And I was thinking, okay, are these ring wraiths? But the 9 rings haven't been made yet, so they were kings of men. Now I know what this show's like, and we're probably going to get some female or at least androgynous Nazgul in there as well later down the line. But the rings haven't been made, so how would the wraiths a thing? Are they wraiths? I don't know. I don't think the show knows. I think it was just chasing after the imagery of that scene, maybe. And
I do love how they beat him up. Like, they're obviously more powerful than him, which makes me think that they will be ring wraiths, especially the Slim Shady one.
Yeah.
And I love the fact how they go, he's not Sauron. It's like,
he's a very naughty boy. But it's funny, they go like, all hail, Lord of Darkness, all of our lives we've prayed to you, and now we have found you in all of your glory. And he's like, yes, and like the leaves are spinning around and they're like, oh no, shit, he's too powerful, no, knock him out. It's like,
knock him out.
He's the Lord of all darkness, and then you're like, oh no, he's too powerful, we need to like get the chloroform and like smother him and knock him out.
What would happen if nothing would have happened to him if he didn't react to it? It's like, oh fuck. And by the way, they're attacking the leader. Like, if he was Sauron, I'm pretty sure he would have fucking fucked them up badly.
Yeah. See, what I thought they were, because they talk about that they came from Rune, don't they? It's just like, oh, this constellation can only be found. What is it? The something hat, and she's got like the constellation, the Pilgrim's hat, or so. Forgot what she calls it. And she says, oh, this star constellation can only be seen in the far east of Rune. I'm like, that's not how constellations work, but okay, you can't just see some constellations in some parts of the world. And yeah, I thought, oh, maybe these are because they mentioned that the blue wizards, that there's different writings on it, but one of the interpretations is the blue wizards formed like evil magic cults and stuff. And I thought, oh, maybe these could be part of that wizarding kind of cult, and there's a bunch of people in the East who are like this. They haven't cast them with ethnic actors though, so for as much as this show wants to be diverse and have multi-racial, characters in the show, they didn't cast the people from Rune that should be ethnic characters. They didn't do it. They cast them with white people. So I don't think this show is very progressive, and I'm going to call them all racist because of that.
Patrick McKay, if you're watching, I know you're watching, you're a racist.
Fucking racist, and you should be
crucified on a
fucking cross of fire, you cunt, you absolute cunt, you. Burn in the flames.
Yeah, go on.
We've been demonetized. We're not even monetized anyway, but if we were, that's the demonetization gone right there. You're welcome.
To be fair, I don't think we'll be able to get any get any actor interviews now, to be fair.
Would you want him? Maybe Doran. Maybe Prince Doran would be cool. I'd be like, Adar or Doran, you guys are cool. I can talk to you.
There's going to be a point, though, where I think the actors will start to slate the show. Like, we're starting to get that a little bit with Game of Thrones season 8. Like, a lot of the actors are starting to come out and say, yeah, it wasn't great.
Well, they won't until it's all said and done. They've potentially got another 4 seasons of this shit. So,
oh god.
Well, maybe some of the actors will just jump ship because, I mean, Morford Clark, as I said, I haven't seen anything else she's done. I don't know if she's a complete newcomer, but if she's like just constantly hated and derided for this, that ain't going to do well for your career. Everyone's going to remember you for this shit. So some might jump ship to save face a little bit. But again, I don't know how contracts work. I don't know if they're all fully locked in for the amount of seasons that they're doing. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that is true. And I do feel sorry for, is it Morford Clark? Like,
yeah, Yeah.
She might be a good actress, but she's just been given a load of dross by the writing team. I mean, it's what she's getting paid to do. She just takes the lines. I mean, I wonder. I mean, if that was me, I'd be like, well, this is not good. Like, can we change a little bit? No. Do you want some more quotes?
Yes, let's do it. Real quick before we do, Bath Time has said, I hope Waldrig becomes a wraith. He's by far my favourite character. That would be amazing.
I'm still
I'd be cool
angry.
with that.
I still can't believe he made Mordor. That's in the law. He made Mordor.
Break that down. Break that sentence down.
And how much time did we spend
Mordor.
with him? Waldrig made Mordor.
He made Mordor great again.
Go on. Actually, yeah. The good bit in this show was Waldrig. He's my favorite character.
Yeah. It's like, look, Bath Time says Waldrig is Mordor. It's like Palpatine. I am the
Waldrig is Mordor. Yes.
He's
you know what?
He's outperformed Sauron and Morgoth. He has. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like, you think that Morgoth shaped the earth in the creation? Waldrig has had that same impact. He's created Mordor.
Waldrig's like, hold my beer. I'm about to stick this sword in this stone.
He doesn't realize what he's done, but he's just fucking changed the landscape fucking entirely.
Absolute Chad, yeah.
He's a legend. He actually is. And why haven't they mentioned him during the Peter Jackson films? I mean, Tolkien was wrong not to have Waldrig in the book. I love Waldrig.
I do too, and I'm gonna get a picture of him right now because we deserve to. Where's a good picture of him? Oh, look at that saucy bugger.
Oh, is it the one where he's got the the overlay on, where he's got no top on?
Yes, you damn right. I'm going for that.
I love how she's the only clean one.
No.
Oh no! Like, she's the only clean person there. Everyone else is dirty, mucky. Even her son's dirty. She's got nice bit of makeup on, nice blue dress. Is she like the... No, she isn't the only woman in that village. No, she isn't.
I am the only woman in the village. Little Britain.
I tell you what, everyone's been raving about the orcs. I think they've been so over the top. Like, they've been so shit. I actually thought, you know what? They're being practical. That's cool. But fuck me, like, that scene in the trenches, I mean, that was in episode 3, God help it. I mean, actually, was Sauron involved in creating Mordor? He wasn't, was he? Or is this his master plan?
I don't know if it's just sort of like corruption over the time, you know, his legions of armies, you know, preparing shit for him. Sorry, I just love this comment. Sorry. I fucking hope they make Anatar's fair form as Waldrig. That just really cracked me up when I read that.
Yes, he's the manipulator.
Have you heard of Waldrig? Sorry, it completely threw me off. Yeah, I'd have to look at the because I know that the Southlands obviously were a part of Mordor. I forgot the name of the land surrounding Mordor. I think they've got like a proper technical name, and they were once, you know, green and fertile and everything. There were people living there, and then when Mordor became it, they were probably enslaved. I remember reading that. So I don't know if the volcano just went off at some point and devastated everything, but I have to think it was probably just the corruption over time and the legions of orcs and probably the Sauron's involvement as well. I don't think he like put a sword in a stone and turned the key and activated the fucking volcano. I don't think that happened, but
Sauron didn't though. Our man Waldrig.
Our man Waldrig. Fuck yeah, he did.
Oh, I'm getting a photo of him. I'm changing my photo.
Hang
This
on.
is going to be my
imagine
channel
Waldrig
logo.
turning up with a gas torch and a helmet, like Flashdance to help Celebrimbor. They later reveal his role like Flashdance. What a feeling! Now I want to stick Waldrig's head on like the dance at the end. What a feeling!
He looks around the same age as Celebrimbor. Like they look similar. Like they went in the same class. Like,
I love this. I'm so glad we did this stream tonight because never have I had so much admiration for Waldrig until tonight. I didn't realize that he's an absolute godsend. He is the hero, not that we deserved, but the one that we needed.
I love him actually. Funnily enough, my brother thing.
Can we get this trending as a meme? I want this as like a Tolkien meme now, Waldrig. We need to get it going. Please, if whoever's good at Photoshop, please someone Photoshop Waldrig riding around on a goblin because I want to see that.
What's the commenter's name?
Bath time with Vaughn.
Right, thank you. I am gonna make a meme video.
Yes,
and it's purely gonna be Waldrig.
What are the Waldrig memes? We're going on like a tangent. I'm trying to think of other Lord of the Rings ones we could do, like get back there and smash it down, but nothing can breach it. Waldrig will breach it.
Put him on Grond.
That's like Theoden after the cavalry charge. Make safe the city. The look of horror on his face. Aemir's look of horror, and it's Waldrig on his own approaching them on the battlefield.
Waldrig with his apron and his saggy tits. He's like, oh, rough them elves coming back.
What an
I love Waldrig.
Oh, I'm crying.
What a legend.
Sorry, we need to get back and talk about this, but this is
we're Waldrig. I'm Waldrig till I die.
There's more as well. I'll get back to them. Keep them coming bath time. I'll get to them in a minute, but we need to crack on. So, I'll bring it up there. Dying. This is great. The ball scene from Top Gun. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, playing with the boys. With all the 80s classics. We've got Flashdance. We've got Top Gun. Oh, Christ.
Oh, man. I've never loved the character so much. Thank you for opening my eyes.
He's my new favourite character. Out of all the Lord of the Rings, out of everything, it's Waldrig.
If you think about the most monumental moments of the first season, so we got the Balrog waking up, the Rings of Power have been, the three Elven rings have been made, Sauron's been revealed, Waldrig's creative Mordor, that's up there. Oh my God, no, I've just thought of something.
Go on.
If it wasn't for Waldrig, Sauron wouldn't have been able to make the One Ring.
Oh shit!
Oh my God!
Fuck.
Oh my God! And they wouldn't have been able to destroy the ring. Oh my God!
I'm personally gonna cross a word out in this book, and it's the first sentence. There was Waldrig, the one who in Arda is called Ilúvatar, and he made first the Ainur.
Waldrig, man, what a bloke!
Waldrig, the
he
doesn't
know what he's done, and how dare he go Ardar, Lord of the Southlands? No, they should be kneeling to him. He's the Lord of Mordor.
Please, like, tweet at me, tweet at you with Waldrig meme. I'm down. We need to get this going. The world must know.
We need to somehow get an interview with him.
I'm down. Yeah, cast interviews. There we go. Yeah, Waldrig. That's it. We're your biggest fan.
My dream interview. We love you, Waldrig, for you only appeared.
Look at that sexy motherfucker. And you can keep the hat on as well.
Oh, let me full screen him.
He looks like he's
Where
in
is
some
it?
kind of apron there, doesn't he? Do you reckon it's like an assless apron at the back?
Yeah, he's like a naked chef.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he just walks out commando, nothing on? He's like people in his pubs, like, oh, here we go again.
That's his fair form.
Oh my god, this
Fucking
guy's
dead.
killing it.
Done. I haven't laughed this.
Oh.
I haven't laughed this much in so long. This is amazing. I'm so glad we did
This
this.
guy
tonight.
is killing it. Fair play, mate.
He saved it. He has saved. Just look at it. Oh, there we go. That's it.
Look how cute he is. Look at how he's looking. Look at
Find
that.
you a guy that looks at you the same way that Waldrig does right there.
Oh, you need to swap the screen so that he's looking at you. Oh,
I want them
brilliant.
to paint me like one of your French girls seen from Titanic, but with Waldrig.
Oh yes, crop his head on. He's just lying down with his apron on.
And his tits.
Oh, fair play. And I'll tell you what, he was a better parent to Theo than fucking Bronwyn and whatever her name was. She was dross.
He was like, stick with me, lad. You know, when the time comes, when Sauron returns, we'll be ready for him. Mark my
Have you
words,
ever
lad.
heard of Sauron? Oh, right. Do you want some quotes?
Yes,
And
let's do some quotes.
I'm
Let's do
sorry,
some quotes.
bath time with Vaughan. I couldn't find any Waldrig ones, so I do apologise. So, in the end, this shadow is but a small and passing thing. There is light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. Find the light, and the shadow will not follow. The shadow will not find you. But I swear, light creates shadow.
It's one of the Hobbits who says that, isn't it? I think.
I don't know. You have to. It's your guess.
No, because obviously it's like the Samwise line, isn't it? And I remember being so pissed off by that when they said that.
Just think a really important character, one that is definitely on your top 5 best characters.
It's like a passing thing. This shadow. I detect a sense of sarcasm. Sarcasm I see in that when you said that. So we almost 5. Oh wait, is it Galadriel? Who says that?
No, nope, nope. It is Bronwyn.
Oh, of course it. Yeah. Because Theo's all like, "Mother, tell me that thing you used to say to me when I was scared of the dark." She's goes
like what everyone
speech.
does. Was she's like, sorry, son, I couldn't remember it, lad. Sorry. I mean, how old is Theo? Is he like 14? 13?
Was it like, "Mother, when it used to thunder and rain, I used to be so scared. Tell me what you used to say." Oh, forsooth. In the ancient times, this is a slow and passing thing. You used to say that
there
every
was a
single
man,
time it rained.
There was a man who wore an apron who created Mordor. Oh, I wonder if Ilúvatar, this was one of his intentions for Waldrig.
I want Waldrig to be the
Great.
mouth of Sauron.
Oh my god, he might be.
Me master,
Oh my
Sauron
God.
the Great, bids thee welcome.
With his thick Yorkshire accent.
Yeah. You're out.
Oh, you're right, love. Right. Do you want another quote?
Let's hit
2
me. I'm going to
more
try and get this
on
one. I'm
offer.
slipping.
Right. Despise not the labour which humbles the heart. Humility has saved entire kingdoms. The proud have all but led to ruin. What?
Oh. That sounds like a dwarven line.
Ooh.
Which
Wow,
sounds
you're
like
not wrong.
Which sounds like a new underground thing in London, doesn't it? All change here. The dwarven line. Go on, read it to me again. Give it to me raw again a second time.
Despise not the labour which humbles the heart.
Oh,
Humility has saved entire kingdoms. The proud have all but led to ruin.
wait. Okay, so bath time's gone in with Nisa or Disa. I think you're going for with that.
You're
I
going
want to
along the
say it's.
right lines of the midget. You're going along that right line.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say Celebrimbor. Um,
You
of
might
the
as well be.
midget.
I mean, just look at the state of him.
You're right on the despise. Not. Oh, is it Durin's father, Prince Durin's father? Who says it?
Is that your final guess?
I'm gonna have to lock that in. I think it's totally wrong though.
You're going to lock it in. It is Galadriel.
Despise not the labour that hum. When does she say that? I vaguely remember that now.
When does she say? Oh, she says it to
Oh,
Theo.
on the ship. She says it to Isildur, doesn't she? When they're looking over
Does she?
the horizon on the ship, and she goes like, "Who are you?" And he goes like, "I'm the stable hand." And she's like, "Despise
Oh
not
yes.
labour and whatever." Yeah,
Oh,
I'm slipping. I'm
that's a
really
two.
slipping with this.
Right. I
Third
don't
one.
want you to guess this one. I just want you to listen to this one. It's Galadriel, but listen to this. This Mark's very existence proves Sauron escaped. He's still out there. The question now is where? That's from Galadriel. I mean,
Yeah, and
and
then
then she
later on, she
completely
just sees the
forgets
same thing.
that.
Yeah, and she just immediately knows where it is.
and plus she lets him go. She knows where he is. It's like, yeah, we're gonna let you go. Right. I've got the last one now, and this is from one of my least favorite characters in the show,
Ooh, okay,
which might be a controversial point.
okay.
Where there is love, it is never truly dark. I mean, what the fuck?
Oh, there is love. There is never. Oh, is it from not Legolas? Legolas with a fade. I've forgotten his name. Arondir. Is it him?
Is that your
Oh,
final answer?
Bath Time's going with Elrond on that.
Ooh, what's your final answer?
Give me the quote again, one more time.
Where there is love, it is never truly dark.
Oh, I don't. Just for the sake of diversity, well, in more ways than one, I'll go with Arondir, and Bath Time could lock it in with Elrond. I think he's probably right though with Elrond.
It is Elrond.
Yeah, well done, dude.
I really didn't like Elrond. He seemed very
So
much
Bath
like
Time
a
says
wimp.
it's in the bit where he's in the dwarf cave talking about missing Nisa and Durin's wedding. Oh, okay. Yeah, Elrond just completely was just nerfed within an inch of his life. So I've seen something. No, shut up, Elrond. You have not seen what I have seen, and it's like this guy's got such a rich history. There was one bit of the character that I liked where he was talking about his father's exploits to I think it was to Celebrimbor, and he says, "Oh, my father Eärendil, and this." I'm there like, "Yeah, this is lore. This is good stuff." And then we're back to he just didn't feel regal. He didn't feel like he was
No,
a warrior or anything. He just felt very passive, like things were just happening around him. They said he
I
was like
love
full of
how.
political intrigue and he was going in there with
Yeah,
ulterior motives to strike a bargain, but then he wasn't, and he was there for friends. And then he swore that he wouldn't tell anyone about the mithril, but then he kind of did straight away. And
yeah. I mean, he told Celebrimbor,
yeah,
like Celebrimbor's holding the mithril. Like he breaks every oath that he takes.
yeah,
Like he loses the game against Durin, and he's meant to be banished from all dwarven lands, and then he isn't. And that plot is stupid because his plan was to purposely lose so that he got a better chance of being heard by Durin. How's that work? If he won, he would have had to stay in the kingdom.
yeah.
So I don't get it because Durin could have just walked away and go, you know what, gods, take him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have gone. Your plan's screwed there. I just didn't like how weak he was, and you brought it up earlier on. you know, he's meant to be with Calabrian. I think
Yeah.
they get together in the year 1700. I think it's around about then. That might be wrong. I'll have to double check that. But
I know
she
she
isn't
gets
in the
kidnapped
show.
by
He's going to be a paedophile.
Yeah. It's going to be like
He-
Twilight, isn't it? The last Twilight film where,
oh
isn't it the
gosh.
werewolf imprints himself? Call it what you want. It's still fucking paedophilia. He imprints himself onto this infant. And it's just like, oh,
Oh
she's my
god.
betrothed. And I'm like, okay, that's
Oh
strange.
god. Can I ask you a question? Just a
Sure.
straight up question. And I
Go
want to
for it.
ask this to chat as well. What year is this set in?
No idea. Like, you think they would... Let's go for the Lord of the Rings, right? After the prologue, we immediately ground ourselves where we are in the extended edition, at least. It's the 22nd day of September in the year 1400. I think it says 1400. Hobbiton, West Farthing, the Shire, Baggett, you know, the third age of this world. Immediately, the first few sentences of the Fellowship, and we know where we are. This one's going back to your timeline thing. It's all over the place. We don't know because the show doesn't know. It doesn't take time to tell us, and the events that it's depicting are thousands of years apart that it's almost impossible to pin it down when it is.
It's like they've condensed 2,000 years worth of lore, and you're seeing the results of that. I mean,
The
why
best
couldn't
way
you
they
have
could
a
have done it was depict a series, and then when you finish season 1, have like 1,000 years go by into season 2 and do your time jumps between seasons. That would be the best way to do it. Your elven characters wouldn't age at all, so obviously that's not a problem.
Yeah,
And you could tell
100%.
new interesting stories each season.
Like, you could have had this first season be, you know, having Sauron manipulating the Calabrian born, manipulating the elves and establishing, you know, the elven kingdoms and the dwarf kingdom of Khazad Dûm. You could have had that. Instead, they're just like, right, we need names for this show. Who can we get? Elendil, Isildur, right. Isildur's sister who does nothing. Oh, that's another scene that I forgot. I'm sorry to divert away from this, but I love her character. She's amazing because when the king went missing, she just shouted, "Help! The king's ill or something, or the king's gone." Then she goes over, sees that he's back, and doesn't. She just leaves him and goes to the Palantir. Like, she
the
doesn't
fact
go.
that the Numenorian higher ups would leave random people unassisted, unguarded, alone in the room with the actual king, who is very, very ill.
I mean, her boyfriend should be in prison for being a terrorist, for blowing up all the shit.
She's only in this series apparently to dial up the female like quota in the show, and it kind of shows because I don't know if it was a reshoot that she was added in, but let me just get rid of this. 69xxx fun sounds good. Let's block that real quick. No idea.
You've got porn bots.
Yeah, I've got porn bots. There's good bots to have, aren't they? The best bots in the world.
It's Patrick McKay. Gosh.
But is her involvement, her impact on this show is just negligible because I almost completely forgot she was in the series until you just mentioned her. What does she accomplish this season? She finds a Palantir. Really? Like she mentions, I'm an architect or something. I've been accepted into college. And then we don't really get many scenes with her and her family. It just feels very just thrown in there. And then at the end, she finds a Palantir. And you don't even get a payoff to that scene anyway with the Palantir. That is literally the last time that we see her. So,
I reckon it's going to be where her main plot is to be, I reckon, you know, the bowl cut guy who's Artharisen's son, she's going to get with him, and then there's going to be tension there between Isildur because he knows that he blew up the ship and that and tried to cause the downfall of the navy and what have you. So there'll be tension there. I think that's the only reason she's in it, because I cannot see why she's in it at all.
Yeah.
Like what? Like name a quote. What she said.
Bath time's
Name a
got it
scene.
right. She's fit. I don't
Yeah.
mind. I mean,
All right,
if
and bath
you look
time. What
past
color hair has she got?
Yeah, it's just there's no quote, there's nothing. She's just a completely pointless character that's just thrown in for very obvious reasons, and that's it. There's nothing else to her. That was it. I mean, I'm not looking forward to season 2 at all. I am kind of in like a morbidly curious way, just so we can have some more live streams and more fun conversations. But from the very ending of Numenor, where they arrive there and they've got like they're in mourning, the king's just died, they've got like the black flags and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, so the whole political landscape now of Numenor is completely changed. This is where she might be crowned queen, and then our Pharazon's going to come in. That's if they're going by the law, and they've already deviated from the law anyway. But I'd like to see more of a focus on our Pharazon, because I don't feel like he's the villain that we need him to be. Especially when you read the Silmarillion.
He's been absolutely diabolical. Like the scenes that we've seen is him in the marketplace discussing his plans out in the open.
Yeah.
Like, this is meant to be, you know, again, another manipulator. They can't do manipulators in this show. But unironically, Galadriel's probably the best manipulator in the show.
Yeah.
Like, she gets everyone to do what she wants. Yeah, I think we should definitely, for season 2, do a live stream when each episode is on.
Oh,
we do a watch
absolutely.
along.
Hell yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we can do
I'll
a review.
be up for that.
We can double up. We can double up the reviews, can't we? So that'll be good.
Yeah.
More
content
yes. For you guys. Okay, so like we were doing like the bad, the ugly, and the good. So the bad for me, I'm going to do a bit of a scapegoat here, because there's too many things. I guess like the disregard for the law. And I know that Peter Jackson changed a bunch of things from the law as well, which some I could understand, some I'm still like, I kind of wish he hadn't have done that. But for the most part, I think they were all done for the right reasons. But mostly the bad's just been... I don't even know if it's divided the fan base, because I think people who are just die-hard Tolkien fans, they know that this shit's shit. You know, like they know that this show is an absolute travesty and just won't give it the time of day. In all honesty, like I haven't seen anyone talking about this show. The legacy of this show, even a couple of weeks on after it's come out, it's like it's been and gone, I haven't heard anyone talking about it. I thought we might have been kind of late to the party jumping on now doing a season 1 thing, but it's always good to talk about Lord of the Rings in whichever capacity it is, even if it is unfortunately about the Rings of Power. At least we can still find some humor in it. But I haven't seen, there's been no water cooler effect with this show at all.
Yeah.
People talking about it week to week, people getting hyped about it, people talking about it after the fact. I think if it's going to be 2 years, I think the hype's just going to be gone. I think by the end of this year, everyone will be like, oh yeah, the Rings of Power, that was a thing. Yeah. That's how I feel about it. So to me, the biggest bad of the Rings of Power is the cheap, low-hanging fruit marketing things they've gone with and trying to divide the fan base and calling them this and that. That's been the ugly side of it to me, and just the blatant disregard of Tolkien's life's work and lore and everything. It breaks my damn heart, and I don't like it. So in terms of around the show, that's the biggest bad for me. If we're talking about stuff within the show, shit, just throw a dart at a board. You know, because everything's pretty much wrong with it. If we're going to talk about the ugly, now this can be visuals, this can be a character, I suppose, if you want to. I think this is probably the thing that disgusted you the most reviled thing in the show. Like, what am I watching? Maybe if we go about it that way, the ugly. Other than Galadriel's angry face. I mean, you can't say Waldrig. I mean, look at that beautiful man.
Oh yeah. To be fair, that moment was up there, him creating Mordor, but bath time with Vaughn's opened my eyes, and I thank him for it, because
thank you, man.
That is one of my good moments. I mentioned it before. I think how Galadriel handled the situation with Sauron.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's just it. It's out of character for that Galadriel.
Yeah.
Like, I know I hate that Galadriel, but even so, it's how they rushed it, and I think, like what you said, I think it's the bastardization of the law, really. And you've got some great content. You've got some great content to adapt as well, and to expand upon. And I think it's criminal that they rushed creating the Elven Rings like that. I think it, and just announcing that Sauron within 10 minutes. It's criminal. You've got so much potential there, and to waste it on having scenes of fucking that fat hobbit, like, picking ash fruit, and having all the scenes with the Harfoots that were very pointless. It's so much wasted potential, and yeah, I think it's just been a waste. That's
Yeah.
the ugly side. It's just been unforgetful. No, it's been forgetful. Sorry, it's very late.
Unforgivable.
It's been it's unforgivable. It's very forgettable, and very, very bad.
And honestly, like, people praising the visuals and stuff for this, and I suppose there are some nice bits, but even then, I think a lot of the CGI in it looks really ropey.
Yeah.
And kind of distracting in some points as well. There's never a sense of... One of the good things to come from this show is that right after I watched it, I needed to cleanse the palate, and I watched the Lord of the Rings films again. And going on YouTube and watching... There's a bunch of reaction channels as well, first time watching the Lord of the Rings and whatever. And the ones that are probably legit watching it for the first time, it just fills my heart with joy, people discovering these films. And especially Fellowship of the Ring, to me, which is my favorite of the three. Just... I don't have words for that film, for that trilogy. It's remarkable. Every word that I can think of saying doesn't do it justice. It's you feel it. I can't verbalize what I feel when I watch the Fellowship of the Ring. And what Peter Jackson did, and crew and everything, on a fraction of the budget. And because he's fucking passionate about it, and you see it in the appendices, which obviously you're sharing on your channel as well. You see it in every single shred of the filmmaking from every single person involved, and I haven't got a single sense of that in this whole production. It just feels like it's been made for money. It feels like it's been made to send, as the critical drinker would say, the message. It just, there's no power or passion behind it at all. It feels like we've just got an IP that will make a lot of money, and thankfully I don't think it has. I just don't see the money on screen. I don't see it in astounding actors. I don't see it on good writers for a stamp. I don't see it in the choreography, and there's no sense of... Even when you watch Lord of the Rings now, there's that sense of awe. It feels lived in. It's brilliant world building. It feels like a whole world. I never got a single sense of that. One scene from Return of the King, the lighting of the beacon scene, stirs more emotion in me than all 8 episodes of this show. And this has got way more of a budget. Everything just feels very small. Like they filmed some of it in New Zealand, but a lot of the time, as I said, it just feels like a really cheap soundstage with like pantomime costumes and really bad acting as well that doesn't back it up. And you don't get any sense of world building or sprawling scale to everything. Or history.
I totally agree.
I
totally agree, and I think the music's forgettable.
I
wasn't a big fan.
So the main theme is by Howard Shore, and Howard Shore just completely faded. Maybe he knew it was terrible as well. It was just like, I'll just give him a couple of notes. And then Bear McCreary, who's he's done a bunch of stuff, but recently the God of War soundtrack, which is amazing. God of War 4 soundtrack on PS4, and I'm assuming he's doing the music for the new one as well, coming out in a couple of weeks. So forgettable. It's just none of the same. Even the score, if you just looked at the score for the Lord of the Rings, it was Howard Shore basically wrote an opera across 3 movies, across 3 soundtracks, and the music tells a story, and it weaves the fabric of a culture leitmotifs. You know what elven music sounds like. You know what dwarven music sounds like. He's created the cultures within the music and told the story of the Lord of the Rings through the music itself. It's outstanding. It's probably the best musical achievement in film history, perhaps. Obviously, there's other good ones as well. You John Williams, your Hans Zimmers and stuff like that. But to me, what was achieved, and you don't get any of that. Don't get any of that with this, do you?
It's like,
it's just...
when I used to study, or even when I'm reading a book, like now, I'll put the Lord of the Rings soundtracks on and listen to them, and I don't think I could with this show's music and relax. I mean, can you picture a theme now? Can you I've got Auron's little pipe theme where it's like do 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 do.
I don't
I
even
can't
remember that
think of.
one.
I can't.
There
I
was
can't
there was
think of.
one that kicked in, and I think it's when they first go to Khazad-dûm in episode 2, and it's like the dwarven chanting, and it's like this militaristic, hard marching song. But I don't think that was ever used again. And I thought, oh, this is going to be the dwarves or Durin's theme or Khazad-dûm's theme, and I don't think it ever came back. And then I think Numenor has a theme, but I don't know it well enough off the top of my head. But I seem to remember there being some kind of leitmotif for Numenor, but it wasn't. It didn't feel that prominent to me.
So if I ask you now, can you think of the Shire theme from the Fellowship? Does it pop into your head?
Absolutely, yeah, of course it does. Yeah,
It's like, all right.
Or the Fellowship
Think
theme.
of Think of Galadriel's
Isengard's
theme in
theme,
this show.
everything, Galadriel's theme. Yeah.
Think of it in this show. What is it? Like,
yeah.
does she even have a theme? I don't even think
so.
she does she?
No. Someone asked me the question as well, pertaining to like a fan edit of this. Like, could you fan edit this and just make it good?
Where would you start?
If you're making it lore faithful, you're fucked. You can't. Like, you just can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing in. I might be able to take some shreds of the prologue, maybe as some kind of Silmarillion thing. Maybe use footage from other films, like when it cuts to her brother with like scratches on the bed and everything. Maybe cutting some footage from Van Helsing of the werewolves. I don't know. I don't know. Could you? I think it's impossible. It's impossible because it's flawed from the ground up. There is not a shred of Tolkien in this at all, apart from some of the characters' names. But none of the characters are off the page or anything like that, or even consistent within the own show as well. So the ugly for me, within this show, something that really disgusted me, that was really reviled. I don't mean disgusted like, because I think Bath Time you mentioned the scene where that big boss orc fights Arondir or whatever his name is. I mean, I guess that was gross when he's like stabs it in the eye and he's like getting covered in black blood and stuff. The thing that disgusted me, I don't know. Anything that just made me like want to vomit in my mouth. Maybe just I've already said the disregard for the law, but that just kind of became a part of it in the end. I guess the convenience of some of the writing, or no, you know what? Actually, no. I know what it is. I know what the ugly is of this. The absolutely shameless plagiarism of entire lines from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. That really pissed me off. Where you've read some of the quotes out already. It's but a small and passing thing, this shadow. There is light up there that no one cannot reach. No one can reach. When in doubt, always follow your nose. In place of a dark lord, you will have a queen stronger than the foundations of the earth.
I am good.
I'm good.
I am good.
But I don't get the legalities of that, because they lift lines, all from it. Yeah, sorry, dude. Yeah, no, I can hear you. You're back now. Yeah, you're all good with the microphone. yeah, I just don't get that they can use entire lines from it because they haven't got the rights to the films. They're Warner Brothers and New Line, I guess, at this point now still, but they just rip every line off as much as they can, and I hate that because it just reminds me of, wow, this is just from a much better film than this. So that's kind of the ugly. There's probably loads. And then the good. I am good. Can we think of any good things about this? We've been very negative, which is justified. Can you think of any good things about this? Because any good thing that I can think of is just kind of peppered with a negative still. It's like a caveat.
I tell you what, actually, can you hear me? Because I think my
The
mic's playing
microphone's,
up a little.
it sounds like it's dropped quality. It's got a bit more muffled, but
Right, give us 1 second. If you want to give us what you think's good, and then I can sort this.
the good. Okay, the good. I would go back to the actors that I mentioned before. So Adar and the guy who plays Elendil. Good actors, I think, with better material could have been spectacular as those characters. Adar's a very interesting character. It seems like they're trying to humanize the orcs in a weird way, which I'm not too keen on. Um, it feels like a very modern day thing. It's like, oh no, the orcs are misunderstood and the orcs need an identity of their own as well, and orcs are people, justice for orcs. I don't quite like that because that to me goes against the fundamentals of the lore and just, you know, the traditions of fantasy storytelling. But he's an interesting character, and he's a character I want to know more about. And as in terms of all the originally created characters in this, I think I think the actor does the most with the material and is the most intriguing to watch on screen. So if I was going to give a positive, a good, it would be the character of Adar. Or even if not the character himself, just the actor, who I think played it very well and probably should have played Sauron because I think he would have been brilliant. Any other good? I don't know. Just they had this much influence and money behind it, and yeah. Oh, hang on, you're muted. If I oh, okay, you muted yourself. No, that's fine.
Is it is it still is it still playing up?
No, that sounds better now. Yeah, no, that sounds.
Is that better?
It sounds like you're using a different mic from the first one you used, but
Yeah, it's somehow I think it's disconnected.
no, no,
but
that's fine. I can still hear you. It's all good.
but my laptop, sorry pal, my laptop is about to die, and for some reason it isn't charging. So I'm on
Oh,
critical,
okay.
so I'm gonna have to jump.
Well,
Um,
we can round this off now then, because I think we've pretty much come to the end anyway. We've talked about costumes, music, writing, visuals, act, all that stuff. Final thoughts on season 1 of The Rings of Power.
Final thoughts, very, very disappointing. This has this changed it now? The
Oh, there we
microphone.
go. Yeah, microphone. Good microphone's back.
There we go. Final thoughts, very disappointing. Even though I had no expectations, I was still disappointed. And I really didn't like the fact that the media kind of tried to force us with the opinion that this is good.
Yeah,
This is good
just
content.
like
This is good.
Gandalf.
I'm good.
I am good.
Oh, you know, in the fact that we're meant to accept this is good, and if we don't, we're racists and misogynists. So it's just been very toxic, and it's been a very unpleasant experience, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. And I think if Tolkien was to watch this, he would put it in the bin.
yeah.
Although I've got an idea of what we should do.
Go on.
Have you seen that there's a Russian Hobbit
I
film?
have. I've never watched it. I am
We
tempted to
need
do it on
to
the channel at some point.
we need to do a watch along.
I'm down. I'm down.
I'm down
Name the
for
time
that.
and the place. We'll do it. We'll do it. And there's plenty more Tolkien content on the way. We were discussing some ideas before. One thing I'd love to do is a quiz. You've been throwing some questions out there now
Yes.
pertaining to the films. So I wouldn't probably go from the books. I'd keep it to the films, but it would be a tough quiz. I want to make these questions really fucking difficult. This is like peak Tolkien fans, and even then they're probably going to have to question themselves. I used to do quizzes on my old channel. I'd like to bring them back to this one, and I think you just showcased that tonight with the character quotes. So that could be fun to do. We've talked top 10 lists, top 10 best things about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Hobbit trilogy, top 10 worst things. There's so many things that we can do. And I'm loving the Tolkien content, and I want to make this a regular thing on the channel. This is what I'm passionate about, and these are the videos that I most enjoy making. Really, really quickly, Bath Time's final thoughts on it. It says, could have been better, but I enjoyed it, and I hope they get tighter with the story. And to be fair, Tolkien would have hated the Peter Jackson films. I agree with him on that, actually. That's very true.
Yeah, I think he would have.
More Waldrig things, and we'll end it on this one. Imagine the scenes where they reveal they parallel Second Breakfast, but it's Second Mordor with Waldrig. Yes.
But yeah, I'm going to be dreaming of Waldrig and his low swinging tits all night.
Oh my God. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm just going to echo your sentiments completely with everything you've said. I mean, I've got a bunch of live streams out there on all of the episodes highlighting what I think of this show. I think it's an absolute travesty, but have I had fun watching it each week in a horrible, kind of self-deprecating kind of way? Yeah, I kind of have. It's been very fun just tearing this down and just laughing at what they've tried to shit out each week. I think it has backfired, but in a weird way, I'm kind of excited for season 2 to see what delights they have in store for us. But yeah, if other than that, this show is just fundamentally fucked from the ground up, from a writing standpoint, directing a standpoint, and just the overall way they acquired this and wanted to go about it. Sorry, I just saw that come through saying everything in Middle Earth can't hear me. Hopefully that changes in a minute, but I'm going to round off. I just want to say a big thank you to Everything in Middle Earth for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate it. This has been a hilarious stream, and thank you to everyone that's tuned in as well. Bath Time, you've been great. Carl as well, and to the other 4 or so people I can see watching as well. This has been great. I love these videos. Really quickly, because I know that your laptop's probably about to die. If you can hear me, I don't know if you can. Do you want to tell people where they can find your channel and what you've got planned on your own channel? He can't at the moment because his mic is muted. So give him a follow. There's his Twitter right there going across the bottom of the screen. Go and follow him on Twitter. And if you want to find his YouTube channel, I do have a link to that in the description of this video as well. So please do check out Everything in Middle Earth. It's always a blast to have him on the channel. And hopefully for more Tolkien content in the future, we can get him back on for other exciting videos too. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you jumping on with me. And if you like my stuff, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I jump on when I can. My schedule is very busy, but I love doing the videos, especially on Tolkien, so I do want more of those to come out. But there are some big films coming out. We've got another Marvel film in the next couple of weeks with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We've got Avatar The Way of Water later in the year. And I still do want to do a James Cameron retrospective. It's just finding the right time where I can do that. Of course, I've got Andor reviews as well, and that's probably when you can next expect me to go live. So Star Wars Andor, I'm reviewing those with JX Editor. We're up to episode 10. That's going to be Thursday, the 10th of November at the slightly later time of 11 p.m. GMT. So if you're a Star Wars fan, I recommend you jumping on that, and there will be some bigger videos coming on the way. And yeah, if you love the Tolkien stuff, it's going to be coming thick and fast, especially when we hit the month of December. We've got the 10th anniversary of The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, as well as the 20th anniversary for The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. So it's going to be all things Middle-earth in December. It's going to be great. Once again, a final thank you to Everything in Middle-earth for jumping on with me tonight, as well as everyone who's watched. You guys are great. This is why I do it. I'm going to get myself to bed because I'm up early for work in the morning. So take care, everyone. Have a very good night. Stay excellent to each other, and I will catch you very, very soon. Good night, everyone.